Hello and welcome to Valemount Votes, VCTV's series of one-on-one interviews with the mayoral and council candidates for the upcoming municipal election. I'm going to take a moment to read through the show format for you so you understand what we're going to be doing. First of all, we'll be reading a bio of the candidate, and that's been prepared by the candidate. Then the candidate will have up to 3 minutes to make an opening statement. After that, we'll move into questions that you have submitted to us to ask the candidates on your behalf. They have seen the questions and been given time to prepare for them, and they'll have a specified amount of time to answer each question. And after that, we'll move into candidate-specific questions. So these are questions that have been written specifically for each candidate. They have not had a chance to see these, so they have not had a chance to prepare answers, and that's the reason for it, is to give you a chance to see how they respond to questions that they have not seen yet. And again, they'll have time for that. And then finally, the candidates will be allowed to make a closing statement of up to 3 minutes as well. A few notes for you. This is being shot in a live-to-tape scenario. We're not broadcasting live, but we are going to go through the entire interview without stopping, and there'll be no editing involved. So we'll see. It'll be just like live. I will be monitoring the time. I have a stopwatch here on set, and I will be keeping the candidates to the time allotted for it. Any unused time in one section may not be added to another section, so they have a finite amount of time to do that. Each candidate's interview, once it's finished, will air an equal number of times on VCTV, and the interviews will air in alphabetical order. And once each candidate interview has run on VCTV one time, they will be uploaded to our YouTube channel so that you can see them whenever you choose to see them. So let's get right into it. I'm going to welcome today Jeannette Townsend. Jeannette Townsend has a long and distinguished record of public and community service, some of which include 19.5 years as Alderman and Mayor of Valemount, Director, Regional District of Fraser-Fort George, member of the Columbia River Treaty and CRT Committee, founding board member, Columbia Basin Trust, past president and life member, North Central Municipal Association, past president and life member, Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association, director, Union of BC Municipalities, director, Prince George Region Development Corp., director, Prince George Treaty Advisory Council, member, UNBC Advisory Council, Valemount Economic Development Commission, UNBC Honorary Campaign Chair, director, UNBC Northern Medical Programs Trust, director of Valemount Ski Society. She is currently Columbia Basin Trust former board members working group, Columbia Basin Regional Advisory Committee, vice chair of the Valemount and Area Chamber of Commerce, EWC Regional Coordinator. Her many awards include the Royal Bank Financial Group Woman of the Year for 2000 for BC Interior, North and Yukon, and the Queen's Golden Jubilee Commemorative Medal. Jeannette Townsend, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
So what I'd like to do now is to give you an opportunity to read your opening remarks, and you'll make them right to this camera, and you have 3 minutes to do that whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm glad to be here this evening, and I thank you for the opportunity. My family moved here almost 30 years ago. 2 of my children attended high school here, so Valemount has become home. These are troubled times, and uncertainty prevails. I have the experience to bring improvement, a proven track record. I have developed and continue to maintain excellent relationships with industry leaders and with the provincial and federal governments, contacts that are extremely important during troubled times. I agreed to step forward, and I'm here to help. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So we're going to move now into the 7 prepared questions that the voters have submitted and the viewers of VCTV have submitted for you. There will be varying response times to them depending on the complexity of the questions and the issues asked. The first one deals with the economic development, and we're going to give you a long period of time. We had a number of questions about this which we compiled down for you. So you'll have up to 9 minutes to answer that. And the question is, what is your strategy for strengthening Valemount's economy? How would you attract more businesses and development to Valemount?
The identified assets are primarily forestry and tourism, and a blended economy has always been my focus. It was some years back that we had a weekend conference, and it was called Survival of Rural Communities in British Columbia. Present was Dr. Michael Goldberg. He's a professor at Simon Fraser University. And the one thing that has always remained with me is that he said that when a municipality has one major industry, that the well-being of the community fluctuates with that industry. And I know from the time that we moved here, forest industry, it was either up here or down there or wherever. It was never a happy medium. And so he said there should always be a secondary industry to act as a shock absorber when the major industry isn't doing well. The major industry here was forestry, and tourism became a secondary industry, and over the years it has certainly flourished, and this town is a very popular area for those who love to snowmobile or do any type of outdoor recreation. So I should like to say that a study to identify key emerging markets that are compatible with local forest species can create a positive climate for business development and economic diversification. A cooperative effort with the Valemount Community Forest, which is a proven successful enterprise and generates $7 million revenue a year, has created 26 permanent jobs and 44 seasonal jobs. I should like to see an expansion of the Valemount Community Forest to include diversification by producing finished wood products, and it would definitely be feasible. The Valemount Community Forest was initiated as an idea in 1998-99. Feasibility study conducted at that time with Community Initiatives money from CBT, updated when the Ministry of Forests agreed to consider an application from Valemount. It was established in 2008, and they offered 20,000 cubic meters. I went to see Rich Coleman, then Minister of Forests, and he doubled it to 40. And I believe that the Valemount Community Forest deserves and merits all the support from Mayor and Council that they can give, and that they can also lobby the Ministry of Forests for essential increase in any type of cubic meters and annual allowable cut. Mm-hmm. And that requires a good, strong relationship with the senior levels of government and industry leaders. I want to make one thing clear, and that it was provincial policy and the removal of the appurtenance clause that brought the closure of the mill in Valemount, the major mill. When provincial policies permit the private sector to move their operation to a more profitable location, there is nothing that Mayor and Council can do. Now, tourism, our secondary industry. Valemount was designated a resort municipality in 2007. That enabled the hotels to charge a 2% tax, which they have used for marketing the area and for doing any other key marketing studies for Valemount that they can bring about to implement for the benefit of their tourism industries. Our MLA, Shirley Bond, is Minister of Jobs, Tourism and Skills Training and Minister responsible for Labour. The Minister and I have worked very well in previous years, and I believe that working together, we will ensure private sector investors that they are welcome to Valemount and area, and we could encourage them to develop here. But they have to know that they're welcome.
Right.
As Minister of Tourism, the provincial tourism strategy, Gaining the Edge, could be accessed to assist our local tourism businesses to expand or improve their operations. I believe that it is essential for economic well-being, which creates employment, that opportunities for diversification are seized when they arise and that they not be turned away. I served on the Valemount Ski Society for 2 terms, and I support the Valemount Glacier Resort project. I first met Mr. Oberti in 1998 when he presented the Golden Kicking Horse Resort project to the Columbia Basin Trust Board. He is an accomplished architect, a wonderful businessman for whom I have a great deal of respect, and I would certainly do what I could to assist. The geothermal, that is a project that is being presented at CBT recently, I will support any proposal that benefits Valemount. The snowmobiling industry also gets support, and it brings many dollars and jobs to Valemount. I offer support and assistance with the senior levels of government bureaucracy to them. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Very thoughtful answers. So our next question deals with the topic of village infrastructure. It's a little bit shorter question, so we'll give you 3 minutes to answer. The question is, what is your opinion on infrastructure maintenance in the village? In particular, the repair and maintenance or replacement of known concerns prior to, rather than waiting until things break or become a problem and result in more expensive emergency repairs and damage. Do you plan to make it an important part of the budget?
Water and sewer are a #1 priority in any city, town, or village. And there is mandatory legislation that all municipalities have a 5-year financial plan. It has to be adopted and updated every year and adopted. It is the responsibility of the CAO and the Public Works to project or estimate the life extension of equipment and parts in the system for water and for sewer, and bring the estimated replacement date to budget for the discussion between a mayor, council, and staff. There should be spare pumps and parts in their inventory to replace any equipment when needed. But I reiterate, water and sewer are the #1 priority of any municipality.
Okay, excellent, thank you. The next question deals with parking issues in the village, and it's a two-parter because we have 2 seasons that there are issues that people have pointed out, winter and summer. You have 5 minutes to answer, and you can combine them in whatever way you like. I'll read the first part first, which is winter. When the village plows the snow, it makes a ridge, and trucks and trailers have to park on the street, and it makes for a tunnel going down 5th Avenue. Last year, someone almost hit 4 sledders because they came out from between the trucks and the trailers. Very difficult to see. How is the village council going to fix the parking problem on 5th Avenue during the winter?
Perhaps the snow removal budget needs to be increased, and I feel that the Public Works staff should be made aware of the danger if they are not already, and bring a remedial plan to council for consideration. I think safety, public safety, is absolutely essential, and I don't know whether they need different or better equipment. I'm not sure about that, but the staff should provide a resolution and bring it to council for consideration. During stays in other cities and there is snow, I always hear snow clearing equipment in the middle of the night when there is no traffic. And when I leave a hotel or a residence, there's no ridge. So I do know, in speaking to our former Public Works superintendent, that Murray Capstick and Wayne Schnell, they used to get up at 3 and 4 in the morning, and the roads and streets would be cleared by the time the businesses were opened on 5th Avenue. So perhaps that's a consideration for this staff to consider. Okay?
Okay. And let's move to the summer half of this question. It is a well-known fact that we have a major parking crisis in the downtown core when it comes to accommodating tourists and travelers with oversized vehicles, such as RVs and trucks and trailers. What measures would you implement to alleviate this problem?
From what I have seen, I believe that the majority of the recreation vehicles shop at the grocery store or at the liquor store. And so that end of the 5th Avenue is where most of the parking is needed. I should like to see an arrangement, if possible, with the owner of the building that used to be Field's store to see if parking could be directed there. I do know that at one time they used to park by former Stedman's building, but they haven't been recently. And I do feel that that would be a solution, if they could use the parking lot of that former Fields building. Okay?
All right, thank you. All right, moving in now to, I guess, another infrastructure type question. This one deals with water meters. And there's actually 2 components to it, water meters in general and smart water meters. So we'll give you 5 minutes to answer both sections of this again as well. But first of all, the question is water meters in general. Do you feel water meters are necessary for Valemount? Why or why not?
I'm originally from Saskatchewan. I was absolutely astounded when we moved to British Columbia and there were no water meters in whatever city we lived in. There were just no water meters. And I know it's because there was never a short supply of water in our province. However, water conservation is now a very serious and essential issue to consider. And when thinking about it, I think also that water meters will foster more responsible usage. It is fair to have a water meter to the residents. If someone has a small postage-sized lawn and maybe waters once a week, they should not have to pay as much as someone who has perhaps a half acre and waters their lawn twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be fair. Those who use little should pay less than those who use a lot more.
Okay.
Okay?
And now the topic of smart water meters. So I'm not sure if this is a proposal that's coming, but the question has been raised, and that is, how do you feel about smart water meters? Are you aware of the mounting concerns regarding health, security, and privacy? Do you know what the alternatives to smart water meters are?
No. Thank you. I did look this up after I received the questions, and from what I saw on when I checked on Safari on my iPhone, I would not approve smart water meters, not until there is medical scientific assurance and evidence to dispel any hazards to humans' health. So I would not support it until it was not even a proven assurance that it would not harm the health of anyone.
Okay. And the second part to that was, do you know what alternatives to smart meters are?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
That's fair. All right. Now we shall move along to the next question, which deals with, it's kind of a joint question again, and this is youth center / community center / activities for children and youth in Valemount. So we're going to give you 5 minutes to answer this, and we'll ask it in two parts as well. So the first part of that is with regards to a youth center or community center. Where do you stand on creating a community center or a youth center for Valemount?
I have always been in favor of safe, healthy activities for youth. But it is not up to me, and it is not up to council to say to the youth, here's what we should do for you and here's what you should be doing. I should like to see the youth assemble, perhaps get the assistance of one of their teachers or someone who works with youth in this community, and let them meet, do some brainstorming, and come up with some ideas that are legitimate and feasible, and bring them to mayor and council and say, we have some ideas, can you help us? There's always a fund with the community initiatives from Columbia Basin Trust, and perhaps some money could be accessed from there to help them out. So I feel it's up to them to say what they really want to do. Okay?
All right. So that's the youth center side of
Yes.
that. The other part is a community center, which I take it from the question that was asked was not really geared towards youth,
Oh, okay.
but as the community in general.
All right. I know that I have seen restaurants in some cities that also act as a community center. And I would certainly consider one of those. I do not think at this point that the finances here would allow for a community center to be built. And when the finances are there, then it could be reconsidered.
All right.
Okay.
And the other half of the question is
Yes.
specifically with regards to a spray park, and that is, where do you stand on creating a spray park, wading pool, or some other water-based recreational facility for children and youth in Valemount?
Okay. I think a spray park is an excellent idea. If the finances can be raised to have a spray park, I think it would be excellent. They would have a very good time. A wading pool, because of the danger of perhaps a child drowning, and there is really no money for lifeguards, it's a safety issue, and so at this point I would not support a wading pool because of the health hazard, the safety hazard for children. But a spray park would be fun.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And moving now to the topic of communication. So this is, again, a very specific question, so we'll give you 3 minutes to answer this. The question is, communication is key to learning what is of importance to the constituents, not only during the campaign, but after the dust has settled. If elected, how will you communicate with constituents to learn of their concerns, and how will you relay this information back to council?
Okay. My door was always open, and it still is, because people still phone me over issues in town. I want to relay to you one incident some years back. I got a telephone call at 3:30 in the morning from one of the local motel owners, and he said, we have no water here. So I said, fine, I'll look into it and get back to you. I phoned the administrator and I relayed it to him. He phoned the public works superintendent, relayed it to him, and then he called me back and said what they were going to do. So I phoned the motel owner, and this was probably about 3:45, just 15 minutes later, and I told him that the public works superintendent was on his way to the water pump house and would take a look to see what was going on there, and that he would report to him directly once he found the problem. So and they can always phone me, as I say, and my door is always open. With respect to bringing any issues to council's attention, I would have a memorandum prepared for them and place it on the agenda for their consideration and discussion and possible resolution and action. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. And the last question submitted by the voters, by the viewers, deals with diversity. And again, it's a specific question, so we'll give you 3 minutes on this one. How do you feel about working hard to increase diversity in our village? For example, attracting persons of differing sexual orientation, race or religion, persons with disabilities, refugees, etc.
Okay. Over the years, I have served on many different boards, committees, and I have worked with all of those factions except refugees. I never had the occasion to work with refugees. And I just remembered that I have a plaque at home granting me an award for working in the north central part of British Columbia to bring the different races together. Okay? So I have worked with that. As for sexual orientation, religion, persons with disabilities, as I say, I did work with people of those factions, and we always treated each other with mutual respect. I believe that every human being should be treated with dignity and respect. And I believe that rather than attracting certain factions of society, I feel that it is important to extend a welcome to all people of goodwill who would move to our community. Okay. With respect to disabilities, we have worked over the years to accommodate and provide access to public buildings, sidewalks, etc. here in Valemount. And I know it's still a work in progress, but it is progressing well. Okay?
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, that brings us to the end of our 7 questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we now have some specific questions that we'd like to ask you. And again, Jeannette has not seen the questions, so this will come at her unprepared, but I'm certain with a career in politics, she'll be able to handle anything I throw at you.
Okay.
They're very specific questions, so we'll give you 3 minutes to answer on each one. So the first question, I guess, is kind of a personal one, and that is a question that everyone is asking. After serving as Valemount's mayor for so many years, why have you decided to run for mayor again now at this time?
Okay. To be frank, it was not in my plans. I have other international interests with which I've been involved. However, it was the local people, the neighbors, the friends, everyone who, some of them actually implored me and said, "We want you to please come back." So I did toss it around a lot. I considered it very, very carefully. And I did get a phone call from one of our senior level politicians saying, "Thank you for offering to put your life on hold for 4 years." And I guess that's what I'm doing in a way. However, I will not be serving on as many different boards as I did in the past. It would just be mayor and regional district and then Columbia Basin Trust. So that would still give me plenty of time to pursue my other interests. However, I know that the first part will keep us very, very busy in trying to restore the economy and the dignity and respect that Valemount once enjoyed. So, as I say, I'll reiterate that it wasn't in my plans. I got talked into it, and I'll do a good job.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay.
The next question is very specific. The current council, on the advice of legal counsel, refused to issue a development permit for the Saas-Fay project. Do you agree with that decision? And if elected, do you plan to try to reverse that decision and issue the development permit?
There would be no reversal of any decision without a public hearing. There is a due process to follow, and that due process was followed when she first came here, I believe, in 2007 and 8. And then there was a town hall meeting with the subsequent mayor and council, Mayor Bob Smith and his council, and it was at the community hall. there was a public hearing there as well. The majority of the people were in favor of her development. Now, when her billboard sign appeared in the newspaper, it was the day that her 18-year-old daughter was in a car accident in Edmonton. And as a result, she is a paraplegic. She is in a wheelchair. 80% of Ms. Sanders' time was spent taking care of her daughter's interests, finding caregivers. We all felt very sorry for her, and we tried to help her in any way that we could. But to reiterate, that depends entirely on the outcome of a due process and a public hearing.
All right, thank you.
And the public hearing is for everyone to attend.
Of course.
Yes, okay.
All right. And the last question is kind of a bit of forward thinking, I think. And that is, this is very much a village still in transition. Where do you see Valemount going in the next 4 years? And how would you help to shape it as mayor?
With respect to the transition, I'm not quite sure what you mean by transition.
Well, transition from an industry town that was once driven by
Yes.
forestry to multi-industry.
Yes, okay. Well, at this point, I still see that on the table is the blended economy of forestry and tourism. And that does not mean that we would not consider any other industry, whether it's to do with tourism or forestry or any other type of manufacturing, if it was good for the village of Valemount and the taxpayers that are here. I would never make a decision on my own. I have many contacts in the provincial government and the bureaucracy who would help to look carefully and examine carefully and study carefully what would be best for Valemount and if it would be a success. I know that there's the geothermal proposal at this time, and I reiterate that I would support anything that's good for Valemount.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of our questions. And what I'd like to do now is to give you an opportunity, as you had at the beginning, to make closing comments. And you'll have up to 3 minutes to do that. And again, you can just look right into this camera and start whenever you like.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Gord. Thank you for the opportunity to respond to the questions and to present my thoughts. I just want to say now that I operate from a premise of integrity, honesty, and accountability, and shall continue to do so. I have always practiced fiscal prudence. We used to laugh at council meetings that we would be able to squeeze a dime out of every nickel. We were always, and I would maintain that, have respect for the taxpayers' hard-earned dollar, that we would get the best value for their dollar. And I also stand for for responsible management. None of us are perfect. However, we can all strive for excellence. And excellence is what I would like to see for this town at this time. I want to say here that when I was first elected, the capital assets of Valemount were $4.5 million. When I retired in 2008, the capital assets were $14 million. No debt. We had reserves in every account. Also, when I was elected, there was a $1 million debt for the sewage project here. And it was borrowed in the 80s during the 15-16% interest time in US dollars. It was repaid in 2003, 2 years before the time that it was set to be retired. So 2 years early. I have a reputation for working hard and diligently. I believe that we need a strong mayor who has a good reputation, who has a solid network in Victoria and Ottawa, and a keen interest in the well-being of the Valemount residents. So I should like to ask for your support on Election Day, and I look forward to serving the people of Valemount again. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a few moments now to give the viewers some information on voting for the upcoming election. Of course, Election Day is Saturday, November the 15th. The location will be at the Valemount Community Hall, 101 Gore Street, right across from VCTV here, as always. Voting times will be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Advance voting will be on Wednesday, November the 5th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but that will be at the Village of Valemount Council Chambers. So that's advanced voting, November the 5th, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Village of Valemount Council Chambers. And for the first time this time, we have something new in Valemount. We're going to be using electronic voting machines. And some people are a little bit nervous about that, a little bit scared of the technology. So I've got some information here from the elections officers to give you a little bit of peace of mind and a little more information on it. Electronic voting machines are accurate, simple to use, and can provide final election results within minutes after the close of voting. You'll go to the voting booth, just as you always have done, and make your choices. They'll have a special pen for you to use there. Then you'll follow the instructions on the ballot, like you always have. Once you're done, you'll feed your ballot into the electronic voting machine, so there'll be no placing it in a little cardboard box anymore. You'll put it directly into the machine, and the machine will tell you if the ballot is accepted. If there are some questions with your ballot, the machine will notify you, give you the option of submitting the spoiled, which is still your choice if you wish to spoil the ballot, or undervote, again, your choice, or to correct it. The only option the machine will not allow you to do is to overvote, and that's to fill in more candidates than are allowed. There will be a machine attendant at the polling station to assist you if you have a problem, so you're not going to be just thrown into the fray. Somebody will be there to help you. Apparently, it's far simpler to use the voting machine, I'm told, than a bank ATM machine. So if you've used a bank ATM machine before, you should have no problems with this. In any event, the machine is going to be on display at the All Candidates Forum, which is going to be at the secondary school, Valemount Secondary School, on October the 30th at 7 p.m., so we hope you'll attend that as well. Jeannette Townsend, thank you very much for being with me. It's
Thank you very much.
Wonderful to have you here, and best of luck in the campaign.
Thank you.
And hope things proceed very well for you the next couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay.